business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, every day to make a powerful impact on others. Today's guest is going to light you up, motivate you, challenge you, and more importantly, you're going to walk away with some tools that inspire action both in your life and the lives of others. So here's your homework today. How do you serve yourself and others today? It doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So let's lean in, take notes, and learn from an incredible guest. So with that being said, let's welcome Nick to the show. Nick, welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation. It's an honor. I appreciate it.
So advertising the sports. How the heck do you do that?
Yeah, the juggle is the juggle takes some time. It definitely is time consuming, as I'm sure all business owners would say. But there's a good blend between the two. So, having my career working for primarily global ad agencies over the course of almost the last 20 years to now opening my first business in 2022, there's been a good blend of applying, customer service as well as what I know from a marketing and advertising expertise, and bringing that to life for the business, whether that be, the types of functionality we need on a website to the customer experience we try to bring, from communications. There's a lot of different ways customers can communicate with you nowadays, whether that be social media, messenger, calling, texting. So, I think the complex part of my career has helped springboard me into being a business owner and thinking about some of those challenges before opening and being operational.
I know people listening are entrepreneurs. There are a lot of listening business owners. How do you balance the family with that two jobs or two companies, actually?
That's a great question, Steve. In the last year, I've really been more kind to myself. My to-do list is never ending. And I'm sure that is common with a lot of folks, even people that don't own businesses, just people that have kids or just going through life, being a son, a daughter, a father, a brother, sister, whatever it may be. Tomorrow's another day, and I think it's just important to make sure that you're doing the best you can to keep a level head, to prioritize, to be as productive as you can during the hours that you've designated to do so. But at the same time, you gotta give yourself a break to check out, whether that be going on a bike ride, going on a run, sitting in front of the TV and watching your favorite show on reruns, or a good movie that'll put you in good spirits. So I have a balance of a lot of things that I do outside of work, and it is certainly a juggling act. And sometimes I have to remind myself, tomorrow's another day, and what can I do today to prepare myself for a successful day tomorrow as well. It's not just about achieving as much as possible in this one 24-hour period. And so I've tried to apply that a lot over the last year, and it's definitely been helpful.
Schedule, I think, is probably important as well.
I live by my calendar. Yeah, I live by my calendar.
How do you handle when there's times you have to be away from your family when you come home? How do you handle that?
I do my best when I come home to be present at home. Work bleeds into the house. I'm not always at the office in Manhattan. I'm not always here at the facility. And so, I have an office at the house, and I try to do my work in the office. So, my wife, the kids, they know, like, when I'm in the office, I'm working. I don't necessarily like keep the door shut all the time. I like to hear what's going on in the outside world there. But I try to make sure that when I come home, I'm not on a work call. Come through the door and just be present, be home. My our son just turned 3 in June, so he's running around. He's fully mobile, almost too mobile. He's very quick, and so he'll see me coming down the road, or he'll hear the garage door open, and he's flying out to the car before I could even put it into park. And so I want to make sure that I'm able to like be there and appreciate that. He wants to jump in the car. He says, I want to drive. So, he's got some time before that, but we'll mess
Yeah.
around him doing the steering wheel in the driveway. And it's really just about, trying to keep that separation. My wife is a phenomenal supporter. She knows, she knows like the look in my face, or if I make a certain hand gesture, or she'll see me bolt away quickly. Because when work does come up, I try to separate that from the kids. I try to not have them constantly just see me working and working and working. And at times they want to see that. At times they want to be part of it. My son will jump on my lap and want to be on the computer, just like he wants to sit on my lap while I'm pulling the car in the driveway. Hey, Steve.
Now let's try this again.
All right.
My internet's back up. So we'll just feed off what we just talked about. I'll just
Sure.
put those two together. Um, okay, we're recording. So let's jump in. So why are you so passionate about sports in this beautiful center you have that we see? If you're watching on YouTube, you can see behind them is sports center. What's the passion behind that?
It started with my upbringing. My dad was a big fan of the game of baseball, and I was raised with a bat and glove in my hand from a very early age. My brother as well, and I saw what it did in terms of the sport did in terms of community and having people make friends and just having like that camaraderie and whatnot, as well as the competitiveness of the game. Um, my dad, great story. My dad went to a Catholic school in the Bronx, and the coach of the baseball team was also the coach of the football team, and he was annoyed that my dad didn't want to play football, and so he cut when the tryouts came around for the baseball team, he ended up cutting my dad. And fast forward, my dad had actually ended up switching schools, but he played against that coach, and he threw a no-hitter. And
Wow.
yeah, and so I've been trying to dig that up in like an old newspaper archive. I haven't found it yet. If any of your listeners know how to maybe find something like that from like the early '60s, that would be fantastic. But
Yeah.
my dad took that passion for the sport. He brought it to the community. He saw some improvements that could be made around like the local little leagues, and he started to get involved, coaching, kind of worked his way up, and eventually became like the president of one of the local little leagues here in the Hudson Valley in New York. And as a parent and as a coach, I should say, he didn't put me on his roster, which I didn't quite understand as a young as a child. My dad would have games, and sometimes I'd play against them, or we were in different leagues. And he wanted me to earn my spot on the team. He didn't want people to say, "Oh, Nick's the starting center fielder because his dad's the coach." So, kind of took that, and I watched him. If someone was going through financial hardship and they couldn't register their kids, my dad would go in his own pocket, and he would he'd make sure they were registered. Like it's not the kid's fault. He would always say it's not the kid's fault. Or he'd go to a local deli, the pizzeria, the car wash, whomever. Hey, we're trying to raise some money for the little league. I got a couple kids that their parents can't afford to play. I just saw like how passionate he was about it. And then as you get older, the sport continues to get a little more competitive. Here in the Northeast, we're not playing outdoors year round. It's not Florida. And he would go to different indoor facilities, and my dad was very big on like, if you have a car, you treat your car with respect. You clean it, you take care of it, you maintain it. I'm constantly preaching to my kids. I'm like, if it didn't come with the car, take it out. Like when we get to wherever we're going, everything comes out of the car, right? So, he instilled some good values in me in that respect, and a lot of the indoor facilities, not knocking them, but you're in business for 5, 10, 20 years. It gets tired, it gets repetitive. You might not do the maintenance the right way, and it just there were things about some of the indoor facilities around here that he just felt could be improved upon. And so he really always wanted to open an indoor facility, and he never really had the financial means to do it. And we spoke about it a lot in 2020. He was like basically retired, and I was considering trying to help him do that financially. we discussed it. My brother and I kicked it around. My brother's background's a general contractor. And so he was like, yeah, I could do the whole build out, the electrical, the HVAC, the plumbing, whatever we need. And my dad passed in 2021. He got sick with leukemia. It was really quick, 60 days from like diagnosed to leaving us. And about 6 months later, my brother said, hey, we should open an indoor facility. And when he said it to me, my first reaction was, oh, that's beautiful, to tribute to dad. But I work a full-time job in Manhattan, and, dad's not here to run it. But it took a little bit of convincing, but, we made it come to life. We opened the doors, kind of soft opening for friends and family just after Labor Day in 2022. And on the 1 year mark of when my dad left us, we were here, and that was our grand opening event. My mom was here. Rather than sitting home sulking, we had a big red ribbon cutting outside. A lot of family, a lot of friends were here, but also customers, because the buzz had started to get out, and I was really pushing the marketing and advertising. People saw the business come to light. Come to life. And that was everything from, my brother and I here doing electrical work at, 1, 2 in the morning. I'd go home. My brother's a lunatic. He would, okay, call me when you get home. I live about an hour from here. He would get in his truck. He'd go sleep in the Home Depot parking lot. Home Depot would open at 6 a.m. He'd go in, get whatever he needed. He'd call me on his way back here. Hey, I'm on my way back. Where are you? I'm still sleeping because I just got home. And I had when we were doing the build out, my son was just born. So we started the build out in June, and my son was born on June 1st. So it was June, July, August of 22. Between having a newborn and doing this build out was pretty busy 90 days, but it was all worth it on September 17th of 22 when my mom was here, and we knew that, after the grand opening event, we were going to a nice Italian restaurant down the road that my dad liked. And, we've continued to pay tribute to him. Right over here, you can't see it, but there's a quote on the wall. I had my dad's signature made digital so that I could have it printed. And it was the last, really, his last 2 conversations with my brother's sons, because I didn't have any. My son, unfortunately, my dad didn't even know we were expecting, because we didn't know either. But in his last 2 conversations with my brother's sons, he said, "Always listen to your coach." Because you got a lot of kids nowadays that don't necessarily want to listen. And he told his other son, he said, "Don't swing at shitty pitches." But on the
What a
wall
tribute
for
to
the
your
quote,
dad.
for the quote on the wall, we put "Don't swing at bad pitches," because we didn't want to offend anyone. But I'll give it to you raw, because I know your audience could probably handle that.
Oh man. Well, and that's a tribute to your dad. And you had 2 babies you were building, your
Yeah,
business and your baby. So you're
yeah,
growing 2 babies. It's powerful. Passion can get you past a lot of things. It's one of the reasons I want you on here, because entrepreneurs need to hear passion's good, but you gotta be business-like too. You're passionate. You just passed your 3-year mark and you're becoming profitable. Congratulations to you. And your dad's up there looking down, proud of you guys. So that's a
thank
big
you.
thing for
Yeah,
a business.
yeah, oof, that choked
I'm
me
sure
up
it
for a
did.
minute. But no, that's really great. And you know what the beautiful thing is my mom worked in the school district for about 25 years, and she worked with folks with special needs. And so, you could see I'm sitting here. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, schools in session. For the most part, kids aren't out till, customers don't start really coming in till 3, 4 o'clock, unless you get like, high school one off or whatnot a little earlier in the day. So trying to think about, how do we monetize the downtime, right? Do I lease it out to someone who wants to like run their own gym? And we've kicked around a lot of ideas, and really where we ended up, and it was all thanks to this community event called Think Differently here in Dutchess County, New York. It's called Think Differently, and it's all about, supporting folks with all abilities. And we were at what's called their Fitness and Field Day. And we met this wonderful group from a company called the Anderson Center for Autism. They have a lot of day habilitation facilities where they work with both youth and adults. And we were there. Our first year there was in June of 23. And so we were coming up on our 1 year mark, and I said, the building's empty during the day. You guys come in whenever, if it's raining outside, because, a lot of times they would go out to parks and do arts and crafts and do some stuff outside. But you know what, in the summer, it could be really hot. And in the winter, obviously, they're not doing those outdoor activities. So I said, hey, we have an indoor facility, a little pat on our back. We have heating and air conditioning. Not all businesses in our space do. And it really just started as an offer to them. Hey, come on in and let us know how we could support you. We'll build a custom program. We'll do something, to get them physically more physically active than they may be, and also help with social skill building. And had that tie in with my mom, so she comes some days and helps with that. But we started working with them. It took a year for that to come to life. So at the second year of that Fitness and Field Day in June of 24, we said, hey, we got to get something going. And so starting August, they started bringing in about 22 individuals Thursdays from 10 to 12. So it was a 2-hour block, 1 day a week, pretty smooth. Every 30 minutes or so, different groups would rotate in, 5 or 6 people. And over the course of those 2 hours, about 22 folks would come in. You fast forward to today, we just passed our 1 year mark of being partners with them. We're up to 3 days a week. We're at about 6 hours, just over 60 individuals. They also have some individuals that come back just in terms of like trying to introduce them into more of the workforce. So they'll come in and they'll kind of help us, do some of the maintenance around the building, whatever that may be. And they really they're getting tremendous life experience, and it's really humbling. We bring our kids here to work with them, so they don't take their health and physical abilities for granted. And it's really amazing. It's been a wonderful way for us to give back to the community. I think my dad would be really, really proud of that. I know my mom is. And they also have softball teams, and they have relationships with the Special Olympics. So now their softball team's been coming in all summer, and we're doing things with the Special Olympics, and they got a big tournament coming up on October 5th that we're looking forward to. And just really like some positive momentum to talk about other things besides, your regular, John Doe coming in and doing a hitting lesson, or, Jane Smith doing a pitching lesson, right? So there's more to it than baseball, softball, soccer, and all the different sports that we service. But, it's really been humbling, and proud to be able to offer that to the community. It's been well received.
It's a great way to pivot your business audience. Listen to what he just did. Took his business, empty space, and did a service. Marketing on that is massive. I'm sure it's going to help you grow, but it's from your heart. Of course, the side note is to bring people in. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be very transparent with you, Steve. It started as an offer on the arm. I've said, I'm certainly by no means looking to charge you. I am not like in the weeds with the fine print, but some of the state funding and things like that, the funds, from my understanding, it's almost like a use it or lose it. So there have been instances where they said, we need you to invoice us something, because we don't want these funds to go away. We want to be able to keep bringing the individuals in. And so, on a positive note for us, outside of the feel good and the do good, it's brought in some incremental revenue that normally would not have happened, because the doors would have been closed, during those business hours. And it's also the momentum is building into other organizations like the Cerebral Palsy organization for the Hudson Valley, the Down Syndrome Association of the Hudson Valley. So, we're looking to grow that because it's wonderful. There's no complaints. Customers, as anyone can, people complain about billion-dollar companies. People will complain about small businesses. You're not going to be able to please everyone 100%. We do our best to do that. But with this audience, with this group, it's much easier to not disappoint because they're just so grateful, so appreciative of everything.
That's good. It's a win-win. You make a little bit of money. They're taken care of by the grants, and it's perfect. We're coming to the end here. Obviously, an entrepreneur. You've been your ups and downs with this. What's a tip you leave the audience right now before we leave?
I would say to move slowly. Let me rephrase that. I would say move as strategically as possible. If you're thinking about starting a new business, I would put in a decent buffer for any build out costs that you're doing, right? You're not gonna hit the mark. Things are gonna happen. Things are gonna go wrong. These letters up here that you see, when that was first installed, it was the correct font, but that is an extra bold and italicized version of the font. So I was not here to supervise that. That went up on the wall in a very thin, straight font. And I said, that is complete opposite of the brand guidelines. You got to redo that. And it cost a good chunk of change. Now, I had that conversation with the vendor because it wasn't our fault. I was very specific in terms of what the font was. I even sent it to them visually, so they should have known that. But you are going to have some disputes like that. Prepare for that. And also, you may not hit the mark in the same respect with your revenue forecasts, so be strategic. Try to not take on as much debt or any debt. You'll hear, Mark Cuban, applaud everybody on Shark Tank about, I went door to door and I started from scratch. Sarah Blakely started Spanx, $1 billion company. She started it with $5,000. And folks will ask her, how did you get investors on board? And she said, I didn't, because I never took on external money. Same thing here. We didn't take on any investors, but we did have to, navigate through, strategically using a credit card for 0% interest or taking out an SBA loan. I would just really don't go into an analysis paralysis. Don't delay opening your business, but try to, if you're gonna lose sleep over something, try to have it be that. Try to think about, don't necessarily think about the customer acquisition. If you're solving a problem or you're bringing a service to the community that's, of a higher standard to what your competition has or whatnot, or it's just a better customer experience, people will find you, people will hear about that, they'll write reviews, they'll talk about it, they'll share it on their social. But if you're drowning in debt, and you're not forecasting properly, then you're not going to be able to keep the doors open, and that doesn't help you as a business owner or the community, because they're gonna lose you and miss the services and the experience that you offer.
That's beautiful. I love all that you said. It's a perfect audience. Hope you took notes. Thank you again. This has been a great show. Real quick, what's the link that people can learn more about EPC Sports?
So it's EPCSportsNY, as in New York.com, or you could go to everypracticecounts.com. Everypracticecounts.com is another, EPC is another tribute to my dad. And he had a limo business in the 90s called Every Penny Counts, EPC Limousine. And so when trying to name the business, we did that as a personal homage to him. No one would know that without me explaining it, but we know it, and I know he feels it. My mom really, really appreciates that.
That's beautiful. I love how you did all that. Thanks again, Nick, and audience. We'll see you all on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Steve. Great to speak with you.